Okay, now finally let's see what would happen if we wanted to put our white bishop in other square than h3. If we take a look at bishop e2, that would appear like normal development as in other Najdorf positions, but in here developing the queen after to d2 is not very helpful, because we can get a lot of benefit of occupying this diagonal, providing that the pawn on g5 is not going to travel very far for the moment, and just in case we would advance it, we have no security of the diagonal being helpful anyway, because black has a lot of turns to counteract our queen and bishop setup in that diagonal, because as I have said, the pawn storms beginning with h3 and the fastest ones. Of course, after bishop e2, developing the queen to any other square would be horrible, so we end up with an impossibility to castle long, and that would be fatal for white, because we would fail to find the plan in that position. But even after bishop d3, that is the second best way, the second best square to develop the bishop in here, I think black can still pressure us directly, but by knight c5 and after an exchange, because otherwise we will tangle up our position as white, and d takes c5, black is still pressuring, and this is what you should do if we are playing this position as black. Hopefully, if white is stubborn and doesn't do anything about the passive setup of their pieces here, the c4 push would help us to achieve a faster pawn storm with a further b5, etc. So d5, trying to take the initiative, because as I have said, otherwise we will be totally tangled up. Of course, taking here and retaking, as we should do with e takes d5, does not permit white and black to retain with the queen, because we have an intermediate check, bishop takes h7, and we would win the queen. So other than that, have a trouble pawn in the middle of the board. Black should just try to regain the initiative, and after some more or less forced moves, we end up with not very nice, not very bad position for white, but arguably the best way to find for initiative we are playing with white. Here, some moves earlier, it could appear that white has more space, retains pair of bishops, but there are still a lot of pawns on the board, the only open file is controlled by black, so there are not real chances of fighting for an advantage in this line either. So just to sum up, we can say that with the h3 variation, the two main nuances are the possibility of maneuvering with the queen and the f2 pawn that most of the times would remain backward, that either is exchanged here and breaks the center, leaving black with an isolated pawn, or, as I have said, remains backward, being a potential weakness after. So if you are playing with white, try to exchange it when the rhythm of the game permits you to do it. And if you are playing with black, try not to allow white to have that much initiative, that much spare time, so that the advancing of a backward pawn that potentially ain't going to aid in the attack can be achieved.